The goal of today's activity is twofold. Number one, to figure out what the trends are for atomic radius, ionization energy, and electronegativity. And two, to figure out why those trends are the way they are. Now, in order to figure out what the trends are, you need to be able to read the data given in relation to the periodic table, because the trends are stated as you go across a period or down a group, so-and-so happens. So for example, across a period, atomic radius decreases. That's an example of what a trend sounds like. So to get into the activity, you need to be able to divide the graphs provided into sections by drawing vertical lines through the atomic numbers of the 5 elements at the 5 major peaks. The reason you're doing that is you're dividing your graph up essentially into the periods. Look at the periodic table, right? You are going to divide up your graphs so that all of the elements, say for example in this period, are in one segment. They're segmented by lines that you draw. So elements number 11 through 18 will be in one section. And then elements number like 19 through 36 will be in another section. Okay, so you're segmenting your graphs so that you can see your data better. So here's an example of one of the graphs. This is the atomic radius graph. Okay, and this first point says draw vertical lines through the element at the peak of the 5 major peaks. And if you're like, I don't see 5 major peaks, look at this graph, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, those are your 5 major peaks. So if you're now going to follow the directions and draw lines through the 5 major peaks, you will use a ruler. I don't have one. So you would basically draw 5 lines through the 5 major peaks. What you've done by doing this now is essentially segmented your graph into 1, 2, 3, 4 line segments, and that's what you're going to be analyzing. You've also essentially isolated your periods. Okay, so remember a period going across the table, one of our periods was like atomic number 11 through 19. And if you look right here on your graph, here is atomic number 11, right? And all the way through there, that's 19. So this section of the graph right here, that is one of our periods, right? That is actually period 3. So when it asks questions about period 3, it's asking questions about this section of the graph right here. This one below it, this is your period 2. This one up above it, this is your period 4. What messes people up is where's period 1? Period 1 is just hydrogen and helium. When you look at the data, you'll see that sometimes you have data for your noble gases, sometimes you don't. Atomic radius, we don't have data for helium, we just have hydrogen. So you can see right there, you just have 1 dot, not 2 dots. So as you look at the first questions where it asks things like which element has the largest and smallest atomic radius in each period, again, you've got period 2 right here and period 3 right here. So here is your largest and here is your smallest from period 2, largest and smallest from period 3. Sometimes it's difficult for people to figure out what elements those are, because what the packet's asking you to do is write down the element symbol. So like if one of them was sodium, you'd be writing Na on your packet. That's why I also give you your data. Okay, if you know period 2 is elements number 3 through 10, you can look at your data then. Your data is arranged by atomic number, and you can look at atomic numbers 3 through 10 and figure out which one has the largest number and the smallest number, and that's what you should write down. Okay, based on that trend then, large, smallest, you'll know whether the trend going across the period is it's increasing or it's decreasing. When it comes to finding your families go down the periodic table, right? 3, 11, 19, 37, 55 for the alkali metals. So it's a little bit of hunting and pecking, but one thing you'll notice is it'll end up being easy to find because the alkali metals, for example, are the first element in every row. So looking at this graph then, if it's the first element in every row, conceivably these should be your alkali metals. You can double check by looking in your data and make sure that the biggest numbers are always the alkali metal atomic numbers, but conceivably that should make sense to you. So you should be able to complete the whole packet now. I will see you guys tomorrow.